Castillon Confidencial by Albert Castillon. Welcome. How are you, insiders? Thank you for being there and for following yesterday's special that we published early in the afternoon in Spain, telling you who they are, names, surnames, photographs. The alleged helpers of Moroccan espionage, those who collaborate with Moroccan intelligence and live in Spain, also holding very important positions. Former deputies, union leaders, presidents of Islamic associations, there are all kinds, doctors, translators. There is the list. And gentlemen, let it be investigated thoroughly to see if it's true or not. What Spain's political class said yesterday when the tyrant returned from vacation in Lanzarote is that the CNI has 25 agents Spanish espionage at zero in Ceuta and Melilla. Margarita Robles said it, who again defended that the CNI did present reports warning the government and the presidency that there was going to be a mass crossing. The tires had run out, the wetsuits too. Half of Europe had them, the intelligence services of all of Europe. Marlaska says it's not true. He defends the lie or the half-truth he said at the beginning that there was no report. And the fights between them continue in a Security Council where they didn't even invite the king because, well, what for? If he's there to follow orders, then let him obey and that's it. But thanks to the leak from the people of Jabarot, the Algerian intelligence, we've discovered things. For example, that now the plan can actually be verified. Morocco set it up. It wasn't a social media improvisation. In fact, they're trying to find out who they are, and they know it. They'll make it public, the full names of the Moroccan intelligence agents who were in Castillejos organizing everything. And that's essential because they could be charged with a crime here in Spain, and Interpol could search for them and arrest them. Therefore, be careful because we're dealing with an important lead. And they published something else, which was a plan by the Moroccan government, not something improvised, as I was saying, and that the mastermind, something we mentioned here, was the so-called Viceroy of Morocco, Fawad Ali El-Hima, the person who planned the attack. That's what the hackers say, and that's what everyone says. But they add something we hadn't mentioned until now. According to the Algerian hackers, King Mohammed VI was unaware. He didn't know anything about the events in Ceuta. And this is where the story we're going to tell you today begins. How it happened, why it happened, who instigated it, who lit the fuse for the invasion of Ceuta, and for what purpose. And even if Mohammed VI didn't know anything, it worked out very well for him. He has put Ceuta and Melilla in the global spotlight. Now everyone knows they exist. They see them above Africa and say, well, of course they're part of Morocco. They don't see it. There are uninformed people who don't know the history and who think like that, and now they're all over the planet. Look, the origin, the trigger for all of this was this publication from El Confidencial and 14 other media outlets like Le Monde, The Guardian, in different European countries. From July 16 to July 18, they talked about Pegasus. They talked about Tamouchi, the head of Moroccan intelligence, who had used Pegasus to infect Macron, Sanchez, and a bunch of European politicians. 14 media outlets acted in unison, publishing more and more information. You keep seeing headlines here in Spain. As I was saying here, it was El Confidencial that did it. They explained who organized the previous invasion in 2021. They told the whole story. And that really hurt Moroccan intelligence. The invasion of 100,000 people on July 30 was revenge because 14 European media outlets published this. Moroccan intelligence felt deeply hurt and said, yes, well, here you have them, and let as many as possible flood Europe. What simpler place to do it than Ceuta, right? They won't do it on an Italian or French beach. In Spain, everything is much easier with Sanchez in power. But Tamucci, the head of Moroccan intelligence, didn't do it on his own. He received an order and he carried it out. And the order, according to the hackers,
The Algerians say it was from Fuad Ali El Hima, the Viceroy, the man we were telling you about.
we don't believe that Mohammed VI was unaware of everything, as the hackers say. Nothing happens in Morocco without Mohammed knowing about it. What does seem to be the case, according to sources from Spanish intelligence,
Is that the advisor, the one they've seen, El Hima,
he consulted him about it. He mentioned it in passing, like it wasn't important, just a small incursion by a few thousand people, and it got out of hand. That's possibly what happened. Mohammed VI got angry because in the end, it was 100,000 or almost 100,000. And the date coincided with the Throne Day celebration, damaging Morocco's image. The Throne Day celebrated his ascension to the throne. Remember Felipe González, Luis Planas, all of them there in procession to see him and kiss his feet. Mohammed VI manipulated the information, and from the palace, the order was given to divert the attention so that they would know it was them, that it was his advisor, his chief of police and intelligence, who were the instigators. And as always, they accused Algeria of having spread the message on social media. They even arrested about 100 Moroccans as scapegoats in Castillejos. But he knows who it was. He knows who made the mistake. And some say that Hamouchi, the intelligence chief, is on the chopping block. Basically, he could be dismissed at any moment. But Hamouchi has another interest beyond revenge.
they got their revenge for the publication, but what did Mohammed VI's advisor gain by carrying out that invasion? Well, I'll tell you, votes for the upcoming elections.
Which are in less than a month in Morocco. And he wants to be the new head of government. Look, this guy, El Hima, created in 2008 PAM, the party of authenticity and modernity, the names they give those parties over there. And with the invasion he instigated with the help of the intelligence service, he tried to discredit the current head of government in Morocco, who's Aziz Akanouch.
You are seeing him in a recent photo with Pedro Sanchez.
He is from the opposing party and thought that this would wear him down, which it has worn him down as the current head of government. The elections are on the 23rd in September, and he hopes to win them and become the next head of government.
If this El Aljima becomes the next head of government of Morocco, Spain should get ready.
Because he's capable of anything, absolutely anything. Meanwhile, the Algerian hackers are now threatening, and hopefully they'll follow through to publish the content found on Sanchez's phone with Pegasus, or on Macron's phone, or on Marlaska's, which was the one that got hacked the most. Hopefully we'll see it soon, because we know where this is going, but we need the final proof.
Gentlemen, as you can see, they invade a country, 150 dead, more than 15,000 people, bothering the people of Ceuta.
And all of it just to win elections and to get revenge for a news report. That's how Morocco is. It has to show its power by banging its fist on the table like this, always out of place, always inappropriate. Of course, they do it because they know they can, as long as Sanchez remains in office. Espion
Confidential by Albert Castiglione.
Gentlemen, there is a group of Moroccan military personnel called Plataforma Defensa Atlas, obviously very close to the Moroccan government, who have started spreading what you are seeing on social media.
They say this would be a plan to attack and invade Ceuta in 2 hours, between 2 and 6 hours.
They can invade Ceuta. Notice that in this map there is the use of drones to locate, they say, and destroy high-value targets. The use of anti-tank missiles. They say they would face the Leopard tanks of the army. Artillery fire, that would be in specific locations. Even the special forces from Morocco, which would enter, as you can see, it's marked with arrows in the key location. I understand that if this map is being posted on social media by this group, it means they will never actually carry out an action like this. Otherwise, they wouldn't announce it. But it's not funny at all, is it? For a Spaniard, seeing people posting on social media about how to invade your country or a part of it. At the same time, we're told that the Spanish army has had a plan for years to defend Ceuta and also Melilla. They call it Plan Ballesta. Let's keep in mind there's a bit of both. Mr. Francisco Vendala, Lieutenant Colonel, how are you, my friend?
Very well, Albert. Thank you very much. I'm a bit impressed by what you're reporting exclusively, as always. That makes me happy, and you've already defined it perfectly, Albert. The enemy seems a bit crazy, doesn't he? There's the enemy. I'm going to attack him. Well, tomorrow at 5, because, of course, the most important thing in a military operation, whether it's small, big, or medium, whatever it is the element of surprise. He who strikes first strikes twice, and whoever loses the element of surprise has already lost half the battle. Well, Albert, as you rightly said, if they publish it, well, that's bad for them and good for us, of course.
No, without a doubt. Despite everything, the fact that there are members of the Moroccan military playing these games worries me. And the Ballesta plan, does such a plan exist? Tell me, landing of troopers, even an attack by sea, but with the evacuation of the Ceutans to avoid civilian casualties. Does Plan Ballesta exist?
Yes, that Ballesta plan exists. In fact, the thing is, I have always considered that Ballesta plan, besides being outdated, according to how military equipment and weaponry have evolved in recent years, we can say 10 years. I think that Ballesta plan is a bit unrealistic. I certainly don't think it's the most effective, and I think the general staff has been asleep for a long time. I'm not going to rest on my laurels just because we haven't been in a war for 70 years, right? But I think that by relying a bit less on NATO and so on, instead of realizing that we have to solve the problem ourselves here, or no one else is going to do it for us, in that Ballesta plan, they mention a series of things that are unrealistic. The first is the evacuation of Ceuta, of the people from Ceuta. We're talking about nearly 60,000 people. Let's see how you evacuate them when the enemy, theoretically, if it's true about Morocco, which I don't think it is, as you rightly said, is putting pressure on you. Morocco has an advantage, which is that they can supply that invasion of Ceuta by land, which makes it much easier for them than for us, since we have to supply it by air and by sea.
It's true that at sea, we have a clear superiority over Morocco, of course. But there's no doubt that the sea will always be something that separates the peninsula, in this case, Spain, from Ceuta. Then there's the issue of the civilians.
Of course, for Morocco, the ideal thing is to use them as human shields.
If I manage to surprise them and get into Ceuta, obviously, apart from getting into urban combat, which is the most difficult and terrible kind of fighting there is, because of how hard it is, as we all understand, I'm going to use exactly that to my advantage. By knowing whether the Spaniards are willing to die and whether the Spanish troops are willing not to evacuate 40, 50, 60,000 people from Ceuta.
It's impossible when you have an enemy that's gotten inside. Therefore, I think that Plan Ballesta suffers from serious flaws according to how the situation has evolved over time.
If there were a hypothetical war between Spain and Morocco, which has better equipment, better soldiers, better technicians, I don't know. I understand that nowadays there are more drones, right? War is fought very differently than it was 10 years ago. Who do you think would win that war?
Well, wars are known for how they start, but you never know when or how they will end. And that's something fundamental to keep in mind. Another important thing, we've talked about the element of surprise. And another even more important thing is also each side's will to win.
The will to win is tied to the willingness to die. The best thing is to kill the enemy first, of course. Then, if you have to give your life, well, but above all, the fewer casualties for the cause, the better. It has naval superiority and air superiority. But this air superiority, which is essential in modern warfare, has a huge deficit of drones. In this, Morocco is ahead of us. In addition, they are manufacturing them with Israeli technology, which they are already doing. That is very important. Then there is also something else that is very important. We mostly have American equipment, and the United States already let us down in the Sahara and let us down in Espionage.
In those two wars, they forbade us from using the equipment we had bought from them at that time. And then, there is no such thing as a small enemy.
Let's not think that Morocco is weak. Morocco does have a much greater capacity than Spain to deploy troops. Not troops with a high level of training, let's say, but they do have troops, cannon fodder, if we can put it that way. First, because of the ease I mentioned before, that they can supply their ground forces by land. And we have to do it through landings and so on.
Thank you.
Either by air transport. I think it would be difficult because if they manage to get in, if they achieve surprise, Spain would have a serious problem. What Spain would have to do at that moment, and that should be, in my opinion, Plan Ballesta, and Plan Ballesta doesn't include it.
In the face of the slightest military aggression against Ceuta or Melilla, Plan Ballesta should be ready to massively bomb Rabat and Casablanca.
Because that's where you have to attack, from the rear, from behind, where you can hurt them the most. Apart from that, of course, we must defend Ceuta and Melilla as much as possible, absolutely. But our approach should be a broad spectrum offensive action. A decisive one against Rabat and Casablanca, to take the war to them there.
So that they would feel it just as our compatriots in Ceuta were feeling it at that moment. For that, we have the Canary Islands,
which is our great aircraft carrier, and which today is also at a minimum. That is also our misfortune. And of course, also Tangier, that great port, that Tangier Med, which has surpassed Algeciras and Valencia, for example, in trade. It should be bombed immediately, and I say without mercy, because the Moroccan will not have mercy on us, and we should not have mercy on them in that case of conflict. I think that's the most important thing.
There's one fact I don't know how to make sense of. In the troops stationed in the Ceuta and Melilla area, the Regulares, the Legion.
I've been told that 4 out of every 10 Spanish soldiers are Muslim, and many are of Moroccan origin. What would they do, even though they wear a Spanish uniform, in a situation like that?
Well, the majority, not all, but most of them would logically side with the Sultan. Because I repeat, as we've said many times, Albert, they have a triple loyalty to the Sultan, of course. Even if they have another nationality, they still owe him that loyalty under their constitution. Because he is their spiritual leader, let's say. They descended of Muhammad, of the Prophet, and because all of them have relatives in Morocco. And we already know how Morocco has a great ability to put pressure on the relatives of those who are abroad. I have no doubt at all that they wouldn't be people you could trust. In fact, they could act as what we call here the fifth column and could engage in sabotage, even betrayals. They already did it in previous wars, and we would have a very serious problem. That's another mistake we've been making over time. Today's Moroccan the Moor, so to speak, is not the same as the one from our protectorate, who eventually realized that with us he actually lived very well. Once we managed to pacify it, it became a place where we were welcomed and treated very well, and we treated them even better. Right. Today, that Moroccan isn't that same Moor, so to speak, and therefore, for me, they wouldn't be trustworthy. Another mistake we've made.
And dear Francisco Vendala, thank you for that precise military information. A big hug.
Anytime, Albert, and keep going, because honestly, we need you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel.
Castillon Confidencial by Albert Castillon.
Sin Duda Group, your second chance.
Friends, now we tell you stories about current events and listen to your voice, but a promise is a promise.
And yesterday, at the last minute, this message from Perdiguero came out along with the beautiful photo of Alfredo out of the ICU with his daughter hugging him. He thanks Samur, the UBI, and all the members of the team at 12th de Octubre Hospital. And well, we don't expect him to explain details of what happened to him because he's not up for that. When something as serious as what happened to him happens to someone, 9 broken ribs, 4 vertebrae that they need to see if they'll operate on or not. Yesterday, they gave him the epidural and checked it. Well, just being alive is enough for you. Then the time will come to investigate because Laura Garcia is here, the spokesperson for UPOL, a friend of Perdiguero just like me, but she's a police officer. She's also suspicious. Listen.
The last conversation I had with him in person when we happened to meet somewhere. He told me, Laura, he said, they're after me. He said, I live, the exact words he used. He said, I'm scared shitless. He said, because, listen, I have the feeling that they're after me. But, well, listen, let's not speculate. Because speculating with them gets you nowhere, absolutely nothing. Let's wait for official information that's reliable. But anyway, that's what he told me. And honestly, that's the truth, as clear as day.
Yes, what happens, and my dear Laura knows it, is that there is no accident report.
No message has been issued. No typical daily report from the Madrid Municipal Police. It's something very strange, isn't it?
I mean, did someone want to cover up the case? Or did the vehicle flee and they're looking for it and don't want to draw attention, put the spotlight on it?
I don't know, but they should say something soon, because if they don't, it just fuels speculation, and we don't like that. Maria Jose feels the same as I do.
A large percentage of the honest people in this country, right? We demand from whoever it is that whoever needs to get involved does so, that Mr. Periguero's accident is investigated thoroughly, because it gives all of us a really bad feeling and a really bad vibe.
I agree. The only way to put an end to suspicion, speculation, or conspiracy theories is to tell the truth. Otherwise, those speculations just keep growing.
Let's see if we can finally find out who it was, what happened, who made the mistake, ran a red light, the car. I'm sure it was the car. Perdiguero is a very good and very careful driver. We need to know all of that. All right, let's get to the important part.
Ceuta?
The blow-up is imminent. Friends who are there or coming from there tell me it's a matter of days, and sometimes they even say hours. I'm talking about it blowing up, about someone making a mistake, about protesters or illegal immigrants doing something outrageous, or Ceuta citizens saying, we've had enough. It seems like they want to provoke the situation. And here we told you there was a phased plan. Remember, we were in the second phase. I read in OK Diario that real estate agencies in Ceuta are receiving offers from illegal immigrants to rent homes. And they come with wads of cash and pay a year in advance. You heard right. A year in advance. They also tell me, and this is the best news, that most real estate agencies don't trust them. They ask for pay slips, they ask for the usual an ID, a card. If you were the owner, would you rent to an illegal immigrant without papers, without a job? Of course not, right? Although, of course, it's very tempting to get paid a year in advance. But still, where do they get the money from? Yesterday, we showed images here of how they operate. The bills, remember them, those images of how they were counting the money, and there was a lot of money. Who gives them the money to rent for a year? Most of those who do it seem to be Moroccans because sub Saharan Africans will be granted asylum since there is war in their countries. In Morocco, what there is a lot of nerve and a World Cup. I mean, there's no reason. And before they are sent back, they want to. Well, to settle there, to say they already have a place of residence, to say they can be kicked out. Be careful, because that's the second phase.
Occupy empty houses, rent premises, buy businesses, and little by little start changing Ceuta society into a Moroccan society. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope what I'm telling you isn't what Spanish intelligence sources are telling us.
About Ceuta, a couple of people who are really fed up, Diego and Rosa.
In anger you feel, and the helplessness about what's happening in Ceuta is enormous. I don't understand it. How can a country neglect its forgotten citizens so much? God willing, may those responsible pay for it.
There's something that worries me because you said it well, Albert. What kind of people have arrived in Ceuta? To me, it's the worst of humanity that they want all these people to reach the mainland. I'm really worried that they want to grant them legal status. Well, people who are savages. That's it. There's no other way to describe them.
Not all of them, but most of them. Look, the ones who invaded and then left are the ones who aren't afraid to face their family and Moroccan justice. The ones who stayed are the ones who can't go back for whatever reason.
Including minors who were sent by their parents by force, because that also happens.
You go over there, and soon you'll be supporting the whole family with the benefits they give you. That's a reality. Whoever doesn't want to see it is not up to date with what's happening. By the way, Poncho, someone from the United Kingdom tells me that the Quran is ambiguous when it comes to prohibiting alcohol consumption or gambling. Here we mentioned that the king, well, the Sultan of Morocco, I'll explain later why not king. The Sultan is going to Ceuta, or he has gone to Ceuta to gamble at the casino. And he sails his huge boat in front. And we've seen him a little tipsy in Paris more than once.
Let's listen to Poncho.
Regarding the question you asked about what the Quran says about the consumption of intoxicating drinks or drug use, the Quran is clear. It uses the word khamr, which traditionally refers to fermented wine, but legally covers any substance that can cloud the mind or intoxicate. It is established in Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter 5. And intoxicating substances, gambling, and idolatrous altars are an abomination, the work of Satan. Stay away from them so that you may prosper.
Let's see if Mohammed VI applies this to himself, because he does exactly the opposite. And speaking of actions, Mohammed VI attended a religious event a few hours ago. I mention this because what they say and what they do have nothing to do with each other.
And look, nowadays, between Talapa Isalem, who sends me things, and my friend Ahmed Baba, we have a lot of information about what's happening in the Arab world.
Get ready, because what this monk says, I'm going to translate it for you. I repeat, he was right in front of Mohammed VI. Watch.
My Lord, Commander of the Faithful, the Moroccan nation's attachment to the noble prophetic presence has two manifestations.
We must excel in remembering the virtues of the Prophet, starting with the book Al-Shifa, moving on to the book Al-Dur. Both scholars are from the city of Ceuta. Ceuta for them is Ceuta. And reaching the book Dalail al-Khairat by Imam al-Jazuli, and this book was the topic among Moroccans in their mobilization to liberate. It refers to liberating Ceuta, that is in front of the king or sultan of Morocco, an official act of the state.
They talk about the Moroccan city of Ceuta.
About the scholars of the city of Ceuta, and that Ceuta must be liberated. En also like we stigmat out there. Also like we and the collaborators have behaved very well. The mafia, the human trafficking ring, they have no reason to hide there. By the way, why don't I call him king? And we have to call him sultan. Jose will clarify it for us.
It seems it's about time we stop calling king someone who isn't one. The king of Morocco isn't a king, he's a sultan, and that's how we should refer to him, so we know he's a Moor. The king is always Christian. We can't give the title of king to someone who isn't.
You're a wise man, Jose. Thank you. I'll try not to make that mistake again and do it right. Well, and Saku sends me the ridiculous thing from Barcelona. The Catalan capital lives in another world.
Here in Ceuta, we're being invaded. Immigration is overwhelming us. Barcelona is the city with the most crime. And now when a group of tourists comes by boat or by plane, they're told to be careful that they're going to one of the most dangerous cities in Europe.
Do you know what they put up on the facade of the Barcelona City Hall? Look at it. Saku sent it to us from Barcelona. Barcelona with Ukraine. Barcelona with Ukraine. They're incapable of putting up a banner that says Barcelona with Ceuta. Incapable, but with Ukraine, whatever it takes, Colboni, my God, will make Ada Colau look good, and who's ruined the city for decades to come. It's unbelievable. Well, more, in Venezuela, people are very fed up, humiliated of hearing Donald Trump say that Venezuelans are happy, that they're better than ever. He asks me to play this video to show how things really are. Take a look. Goodbye. Attacked by the police, it was a protest gathering demanding the release of political prisoners, of which there are hundreds. This is the peace, Donald Trump. This is the peace you promised.
Donald Trump did the hardest thing. We agree, but the consequences are much worse than we expected. The Venezuelan people will rise up, no doubt, but with help and Donald Trump, as long as he keeps Delcy Rodriguez, the dictatorship continues.
If you are a relative of a political prisoner who is still in prison, you wouldn't be there. I would be just like any of you. Anyway, I want you to hear opinions about Sanchez. Yesterday, he showed his face, well, more like his back than his face, because he's got a lot of nerve at the emergency meeting, a meeting that was usually held at Moncloa or Zarzuela with the king in attendance, but the king wasn't even invited. And, well, he pretended to do something a month after the invasion. Mabel, Paco, and Juan Manuel.
It's hard to understand a country where a single man, without education, without quality of life, without brains, with lies, can have so much power. That people who have learned, who know, who are educated, who are decent, who have a healthy life, aren't they capable of doing what he does, of destroying that person? Personaje.
Do you know what I think and what I feel? Is that this traitor we have and this tyrant is the embodiment of Fernando VII. It's as clear as that. I really think that's exactly how it is.
The squatter has already returned to La Moncloa after his vacation with his family and his buddies. So, As soon as possible, and starting from September 2nd, we need to get him out of there.
I hope so.
I hope so. In Ceuta, the plan created and set up by Sanchez is still in place so that they don't leave, so that they stay, which is the objective, and to create tension and the social unrest that he is looking for.
And how does he do it? Well, we already told you recently that by providing very few means to solve the issue. The National Police sends us information that they can only process 200 asylum applications per week. People who are from an African country at war apply for asylum, okay?
200 per week. Why not more? Because there's a computer to do it. A single computer in all of Ceuta in the hands of the National Police to process asylum applications. They do everything possible to make them stay, not to make them leave. And they do everything possible they do so that there's someone pounding the table, a social outburst, the rage of someone saying, enough is enough. Sofia, Ana, Candelaria, and Mar.
We have to rebel against this government of traitors, of corrupt and criminal people, because it's clear that the people have been abandoned.
That's why disobeying the tyrant is a duty.
It's different from the situation of transferring the unaccompanied minors to the mainland. I think that all Spaniards should protest, and it should be forceful, because we have to put up with unaccompanied minors being sent to our communities. We don't want them here. The King of Morocco has asked for them to be returned to his country.
I just wanted to add something to the video you showed of a man from Almeria who was recording those women throwing away food.
Well, that's been seen everywhere. It's been seen here in Germany, people throwing away food. I mean, they go to those stores or supermarkets where they pay nothing or just €1. And then they take everything they're given, and later they throw away what they don't want in the dumpster, right?
Hello, Albert. Regarding the European Economic Community, if I remember correctly, it was the European Economic Community that forced us to accept immigrants many years ago. Now it turns out that they are the ones who want us. While we are already caught up in this dilemma with Pedro Sanchez, they got us into this, and we hope they get us out of it.
Yes, that's how it was. They were the ones who insisted on doing it this way, and now they're the ones dodging the issue.
Speaking of humanitarian aid and the Red Cross, Jose was a police officer and he saw something very... Let's listen.
Back when I was working as a police officer, we used to help out on those days when the Red Cross organized fundraising events where boys and girls would participate. It turns out we would escort the collections. When all the collection boxes those people carried were gathered, we were sent to escort the collection to the place where that money was going. Well, back then, the president of the Red Cross was a gentleman who lived in a tower or a villa. Very nice, very big. Here on the beach, you can see Casefer. It turns out that these gentlemen would empty all the little bags, sacks, and collection boxes and start counting the money. Then they would tell us, you can go now. So I say that's as clear as day, because there wasn't even a notary there, nor was there anyone from the city council there, nor was there anyone from the police, nor was there anyone who could confirm or sign off on the total collection of the money that had been raised in this city. And I imagine that in the other towns, well, both in the towns and the capital, it was done the same way. I mean that by taking us out of there so we wouldn't see anything, they count the money, let's say, for example, 1.5 million pesetas. Well, they would say, I suppose, I don't know, maybe 1,100,000. And the 400,000 that were missing, where are they? That's what I think.
I think you want it suspicious. You should never do a count of anything charitable behind closed doors without police or notary present.
If they do that, you should already be suspicious. Well, speaking of people who make a lot of money, This lady you see here, we've talked about her several times already, Maria Jesus Herrera. Do you remember how she would get out of the car to go to the Moroccan embassy to pay homage? She's the wife of Minister Luis Planas, the one from agriculture, the one who also works for Morocco. Well, on the day of the invasion, July 30th and 31st in Ceuta,
The Sanchez government gave 800,000 euros to this woman. Why?
because she heads the UN Agency for Immigrants, and they thought it was a good day. The day immigrants invade Ceuta, they give 800,000 euros to the woman who got a cushy job at the United Nations in Spain for immigration, wife of Minister Planas. That is, Luis Planas himself signed off on the delivery of the money. I've been in journalism for years, many years. With a quarter of what I tell you every day, 20 years ago, everyone would have resigned. What happened? What has happened to us? Now it's not even news anymore. Now, even what I often tell you here only gets tiny mentions, and of course, not in any major media, only in small outlets. It's something to worry about. All right, come on, let's focus on the positive. Ali Alejandran has a magnificent idea, an app to find out where products come from using the barcode. Listen.
Hello, Albert, about using barcodes to find out where products come from. Let's see if the smart guys and clever kids come up with an app where we can scan the barcode and it tells us the origin. Hugs, strength, and love.
Thank you, my friend. Come on, let's get those young people who make apps, who build software systems. Come on, barcode. Maybe it already exists. If it does, please let me know. So you go to the supermarket, use your phone, point the camera at a barcode, and it tells you the origin instead of having to be there guessing. Now I'm always looking at the barcode wherever I go and straining my eyes. Well, there's more, yes. But first, I want you to see a character that I think deserves a comment, because this summer we haven't mentioned it with what happened in Ceuta and the fires, but they paid tribute to him. They made him a high dignitary in Cuba. In Cuba, yes, in Castro's Cuba. He has been decorated by the dictatorial regime of Cuba in a celebration on the birthday of the dictator Fidel Castro, the day he would have turned 100 years old. This man, you see, Ángel García Seoane. He is the mayor of Oleiros in La Coruña with about 40,000 inhabitants. Well, he's from a communist party, as he himself states. He founded it and has turned Oleiros into something like a small reproduction of the dictatorships he loves.
Right? For example, you enter Oleiros and you find this giant statue of Che Guevara. Of course, if you know Che's history, it's enough to make you want to throw stones at it, right?
But that's how it is. In fact, it's even more than that. Oleiros, I'm told, is one of the places with the highest per capita income in all of Galicia. And the mayor himself lives in a luxury villa. I mean, I think he's a communist, but a caviar communist like Yolanda Diaz, like Pablo Iglesias, right?
He has put up billboards to attack Donald Trump. One of them is the one you're about to see.
You see you see a wild boar with Donald Trump's face, and it says, "The hunting season is open." What does it mean? That we should shoot at Donald Trump even more? They've already shot at him a dozen times? Well, it's not a hate crime. Because he's a communist, they let him do it. Ángel García Seoane, neighbors of Oleiros, I'm sorry, but many of you should enjoy what you voted for. Well, we'll continue in a minute. There's more.
Desayuno, completely trustworthy.
Last messages. Susana Gas, tell us. Thanks for watching.
We're still here, Albert. Greetings to you and to all the confidenciales who send us messages and opinions every day. Keep sending all your opinions and those wonderful comments, because throughout the week we read them and share them. Gregorio writes to us and says that now you can perfectly understand the opposition to the 2030 World Cup. The Federation and the Spanish national team should not participate, nor should they even organize the event with the enemy, he says. Mundo 240 also responds about all this football. Albert says that the football mafia will do whatever money tells them to do. We must not forget that. On the other hand, MMT says that the king was not as prepared as his father said. He has always been the spoiled child of the family. He is an absolute disappointment. By defending the monarchy, he is proving that he is not fit to be king. Gilbert says it's the same strategy as Castroism. What you explained yesterday regarding Morocco. I'm Cuban. He says 15 million citizens are scattered around the world, always sending those remittances to support a system of parasites and lazy people. Greetings, Mr. Castillon. Pepita also writes to us and says that we send our best wishes to Mr. Perdiguero, hoping he recovers soon. Juan says, thank you very much for dedicating this month of August to informing us, Mr. Castillon. Others are at the beach. Francois says, good morning to all the confidential viewers. As for throwing away food, cans of lentils and chickpeas, here in Valencia we are seeing it too, and a lot. What they really want are checks with money. Rugelio says that excessive kindness promotes evil. Enough complaining, we need to take action. We need to take it seriously. We need to put our foot down. He tells us, if we don't do this, they are going to destroy us and we will be nobody. Come on, Spaniards, and stay strong. And we're going to leave it here, seeing how important it is that all those people who follow us every day don't stop watching our channels. And above all, the most important thing is that they stay well informed with Albert Castillon.
Thank you. Thank you, Susana. The editorial team is always alert. Well, and you all send me wonderful things. For example, Hector, you can see Franco pulling Don Juan Carlos, the king, by the ear, and he says, tell your son to solve the Ceuta issue now. In some dream, maybe a nightmare for Juan Carlos, this must have happened to him, or what Jose says about the danger. A photo of Sanchez. The danger doesn't start when a politician lies. It starts when millions believe him. And speaking of Sanchez, have you seen him recommending food on TikTok? No, a lot of people have sent it to me. Look.
Hi guys, I'm bringing you my top 3 summer foods. In third place, I have couscous, a dish with a taste of avalos.
How awful.
My number 2 is tagine. It has a very strong taste of corruption.
Of course, makes sense.
My number 1 and my favorite is kebab, with halal meat and a sauce that tastes like a hoax.
Like a hoax? It's really good. Don't tell me it's not. And I loved what Maria sent me. Maria is really nice. She says, you can tell that Ceuta is Spanish because there are thousands of Moroccans trying to get in. If it were Moroccan, there would be thousands of Moroccans trying to escape. It's a subtle difference. Or not? As Julia Iglesias would say, and you know it well, Jose Carlos, Mohammed Dixais congratulates Sanchez.
I want to thank my brother Pedro Sanchez for his management during the crisis in our city of Ceuta. I want to thank Marlaska and all of the PCOE for always being on our side. I also want to thank them for all the help we receive from Sanchez's government, which has helped us prosper economically throughout my term. At the same time, I also want to thank the government of Spain for welcoming our Segarra brothers and our unaccompanied minors, as well as the criminals fleeing our country. You were so foolish, you even supported them.
They've imitated his voice very well. I think he speaks better than the real Mohammed VI. Thank you very much. And Antonio sends me a movie-like photo. You can see the trampoline beach, a bunch of improvised shacks, and he says, in just 2 weeks, the Maghrebis have built more homes in Spain than Pedro Sanchez has in 8 years. And you're right, they fall down, yes, but they're there. Well, Enrique, don't miss it, please. My friend Pepe Alvarez, Secretary General of UGT, is very worried and sad. See why.
Well, today we woke up to the very sad news that some fishermen from Lanzarote have lost a lot of money due to the lack of fishing because of the security around the mansion of La Mareta, where our beloved and attractive President Pedro Sanchez has been staying. See, we, the shrimp-eating unionists, don't give a damn about what happens to the workers of this country, but if there's one group we care about, it's the fishermen and shellfish gatherers. If you get me, therefore. Just as the government buys us off with increased subsidies so that we don't defend the workers of this country, and so that we don't call strikes over the increase in retirement age, job insecurity, or the price of housing, we ask our manly President Sanchez to protect our maritime workers and ensure our massive consumption of seafood. Or will we be forced to work and call a strike?
Well, if there are no langoustines and lobsters, Pepe, we have to go on strike. Come on, that's a definite reason. Well, thank you, 11B, for your donation. You're very kind, my friend. Maria Remedios, thank you. Maria Gaona, thank you so much. A big kiss, Maria. Thank you. Ana Maria Casado, who did it through PayPal and almost didn't let me say her name. You know who you are, who says for freedom. And she has also made a donation that we really appreciate here. We don't accept public money. We live off advertising, and that's how it will stay. We also don't want to make a private channel that only those who pay can watch. I don't like it, at least for now. Conchita, the last one for today. I hope, Conchita, that what you've sent me never happened. Years and decades go by. I'll already be retired, but Sanchez is still at Moncloa Palace. Take a look.
En Españas, I can announce that after 22 electoral reforms, 17 agreements, and 4 constitutional changes, I still have a sufficient majority to govern.
Hello, Pedro Sanchez. I want you to give me Spanish citizenship. That way I can vote for you in the next elections. Thank you, Pedro, for the regularization. Spain is ours. We keep voting for you. And what about me? When is it my turn?
I wanted to be president too.
Don't worry, Oscar.
Amazing. And if even a quarter of what you send me is true, my friend, I'm out of here. Well, I'll see you in the trenches tomorrow. Don't let your guard down.
But only for open-minded, aware people. From the trenches, the bullets whistle, and there's no way out. To get out there, here freedom has wings of wax. When I see Caspian, oh Susana got your girl. She's my Caspian and more. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Castillón Confidencial by Albert Castillón.